Peace, 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 and Black Power family. Welcome to another episode of Do Knowledge Radio, place where knowledge is born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Alive, and we are here live once again for this Talk Black to Me Tuesday interview 12 for today. You understand what I'm saying? And we got the warlords and the war minds in the building converging on one location to talk about this upcoming uh, ancestral veneration slash RBG Afro Beats reunification slash political education slash African minds combined like Voltron slash ceremony that we got coming up on March the 7th next weekend in H-Rap Brown, Georgia, aka Atlanta, Georgia. So we got the minds and the organizers and artists and everybody here together tonight to make this official. We're gonna hear from some people and see what's going on. And we're gonna start in the right fashion by handing over the microphone to our revolutionary organizer, political propagandizing mastermind while she multitasking over here building a pyramid on live. So I get to see Moyinde's creation here live. Let me hand the microphone over to a warrior comrade I got a lot of love and respect and honor for. And we couldn't do this without her. Our sister
Red Beats and Black
Ayapo is
Power.
in the building. Peace, love, and black power to you, too.
Yeah. No, I said bread, peace, and Black Power. We need them dividends. You understand? Anyway.
Oh, okay. Hey. Hey.
So peace, Africans. Excuse me while I multitask. So I thought there was going to be like more of an introduction for the festival, but since I've been given the mic, I'll just go ahead and say what my very small role is in that process. So I'm going to be the facilitator of the political education for both the organizing committee and steering committee for the RBG Music Festival. And approached about it because as the in the past, that's what my work has been in other organizing capacities. And I feel like the reason it's important is because we have a tendency of working in a way that is almost like crisis management, right? We do work or we organize in a way where we're just simply addressing issues. And I have found that we don't take as much time as we should in the organizing phase of a project to really galvanize the will of the people that are doing the work. And what I mean by that is this: I'm not trying to be like extra or wordy or anything like that. But what I am saying is generally we love us, right? We love Black people. We love the world. We love Black power. You understand? And so that is all the unity really that is required to co-sign on doing a piece of work. What is it that keeps us one in the best way to the work? What is it that keeps the work squarely in the what's the word I'm looking for? What is it that allows us to keep the piece of work squarely in the perspective of the long view, instead of seeing it just as this event, which we got a bad habit of doing, placing the event within the grand scheme of what it is we're trying to create in the future. And it is my soapbox, because when we hold events, when we organize institutions, when we organize committees, Every opportunity should be seen as an opportunity to shape and mold and create leaders. See, there is no such thing as small work in revolutionary movement. But the problem is we treat certain work like small work. And I just had this conversation the other night where it was a chronic frustration of mine. And he was the one that raised it. He was like, who knew it was going to be the music that was going to be the thing that brought all these different people together? I said, I did. I knew it 15 years ago. I said, in the organization I was in, it was a huge frustration of mine that the two things that I thought were the most important for galvanizing the imagination of Africans to come into this work were the things that were treated as appendages to the, quote, real work, you see. Music, culture was treated as a side note to the real work. Health and wellness and community control of healthcare was seen as an aside or an appendage to the real work, as to central to the real work. Music and culture was treated as an aside as opposed to central. They're central because those are the things that speak to people immediately. Those are the things that even if a person ain't trying to hear shit about socialism, they can get down with your program if you have something that can help them in their immediate, which is health, wellness, healthcare, right? And speaks to their spirit, which is culture, right? So, yeah, it was always, and I tell everybody in the movement that is a performer of some type, rock, Amin and Koyo, you name it, run down the list of African cultural performers. And I'm their biggest fan. Every single one equally. I love every single one of them. They'll tell you I know all their lyrics to all their tracks. Like, I love African culture. And the thing that's important about that is our enemy understands that. Even if we don't, our enemy understands the centrality of African culture to, winning the minds of African people. That being said, we still have to create a way regularly where we do not see any piece of work as just an event. How do we regularly politicize people who are in that work? I never take for granted where people are politically. Never. I never assume where people are in their political understanding when I organize with them. Everybody gets the same political education. And if you already know it and it's already your bag, then good. It's a good refresher. If it's never something that you've been exposed to, then now you've grown. And at the end of the day, I've never led a piece of work, never, where somebody did not come back to me and say, I know more now than I did before I joined this committee. And that's what we have to do. It's our responsibility to teach. It's our responsibility to rapidly transfer skills. It's our responsibility to shape and mold political leaders. If we're serious about the seizure of power, if we're serious about an African sovereign nation, then every single solitary piece of work has to be used as an opportunity to rapidly politicize our people and get their minds right for the seizure of power. So that's why I'm facilitating the political education for the committee for the RBG Music Festival.
And that is why I thank you.
I don't know if that was clear or not. I feel like I kind of, whatever. Anyway.
Well, it's a good intro. I think it's a good introduction. What you think?
Damn clear. It was damn clear. You're talking about.
So if I could, dear sister, as you just spoke of the political education, if we could speak a little bit about those particular principles that us, as we're declaring undefinitively, it's just a quote I'm throwing out, the RBG Nation. Doesn't have to necessarily be called that, but those the organizers and those activists and those artists that are organized around the effort that we're putting together. Can you talk about some of the principles that we should look towards using as organizing principles, not only in regards to this particular event, but in our organizations where we are all around the nation?
Okay, so when I organize political educations, whether they're, because I've been doing political education out here, but the dynamic out here is one that I'm still struggling to get to. 90% of the arenas where I've been called to lead like seminars or workshops or political educations have been African. They have been indigenous people, Native Americans, and Mexicans primarily. And it's still a huge learning curve, but the social conditions are still the same. Mexicans fucked up. Native Americans are fucked up. Like, this shit got all of us fucked up. And sovereignty is still the issue for all colonized people, right? And so even though it's been a learning curve out here, the political educations, even like I did a workshop on food sovereignty, right? I would do that for an African community. I organized a wellness program for 6 years of my work in the Uhuru movement. I hosted a radio show called Colonialism is Bad for Your Health for 6 years under the Uhuru movement. So the questions are exactly the same for colonized people. However, when I organize political educations, I feel like the thing that's important, and I keep coming back to it more and more as I get older, is that so many of us do not do the introspective work. We do not do the kind of self-repair work that is required of us to lead. And what I mean by that is, just because we conscious don't mean we ain't colonized. We still carry a whole host of colonial baggage. We still bring into the work a whole host of backwards ass ideologies. We still bring into the work a ton of like unprincipled ass shit. And the problem is that we think because we know something cerebrally that we still don't have to do the hard work that makes us better human beings, that transforms us from the prior colonially afflicted, half human to the person that is deserving of leadership inside the work. And I am not preaching. I am saying that has been my own personal experience. I came into the work a junkie, a functional junkie. I came into the Uhuru movement a functional addict, carrying out the work, doing the programs, participating in the demonstrations, doing all that shit, and behind closed doors, smoking crack. You see, and it was the revolutionary line, man. I ain't go through no 12-step program. You understand? I ain't like none of that shit. It was the conviction, and my organization whipped my ass. It wasn't like, they stroking my little ego and rub my back, comrade, you're gonna be all right. You understand? They use the politics to whip my ass. That shit saved my life. But it is an example, man, of how your worldview can transform your behavior if you allow it. See, we get caught up in the knowing, but not we don't apply the acquisition of knowledge to the transformation of the human. We always compete for, what do we call it? Conscious battle rapping and shit. We get into these circles of like-minded human beings where we preaching to the choir to see who knows the most of what. But at the end of the day, in the quiet of our lives, right? When we by ourselves in the dark, can we do an assessment of if our political line has transformed our behavior, has transformed our worldview in a way that we become worthy of emulation by our people? Are we something in the privacy of our home behind closed doors worthy of emulation by the masses? That's what political education does. It's not just about getting together to talk about philosophical ideas. It is always 1,000% about what we acquire. Knowledge, I'm not trying to be corny. If knowledge is power, then the acquisition of power has to be a tool that is transformative. That's what wisdom is. When what you know is now integrated into the cells of your body and has transformed you. You see. So we all knowledgeable, ain't everybody wise. You see. So political education is direly important. And I feel like in a lot of ways, it's not organic. I'm not interested in a bunch of in like pontificating big, massive, philosophical ideas. What are the practical applications of political education in any given piece of work that we're doing? And I hate to keep referencing it, but it was a really important piece of work. When we were organizing the Black Power Awards, political education was mandatory. Everybody on the committee, there were 22 people on the committee. Everybody received the political education piece the week before the meeting. We had weekly meetings. Everybody received the political education, had to read the political education before the meeting, and everybody had to comment on the political education. Everybody had to state a position. One is evidence that they read it, but two, how did you understand it? What did it mean to you personally? And the pieces that I chose, that I always choose, the feedback was always powerful. People were just like, damn, why are we not teaching this to kindergartners? Why are we not teaching this to Africans who, as soon as they understand words, can start to implement conflict resolution, criticism and self-criticism, right? The fear of responsibility and how to overcome it, right? Liberalism and how much of a toxic edifice it is inside the work, right? These are practical, very practical. And the reason I like these particular political educations, not them exclusively, but those primarily, is because those political education pieces came not from a period of time where, these nations were, at peace and pontificating. These political educations emerged in a period where people were either actively involved in revolutionary warfare and were having to daily try to solve problems in the world, as well as resolve issues within their own organization. Or they had just recently won, their sovereignty or won their liberation, and were now trying to understand rapidly how to run government, how to become the new leaders after they done won the military battle. Here you still got colonized people with colonized issues trying to understand how to facilitate new government, right? So when you read the piece, for example, The Disease, The Fear of Responsibility by Ho Chi Minh, he talks about all of the issues that are plagued inside the revolutionary organization, around individuals inside the organization, and how to resolve that shit, because we have a government that we have to do. We just kicked these people out of our country. Now, how are we going to put this shit on the ground? At the same time, how are we going to resolve our own issues, our fear of taking on tasks, our fear of getting shit done, the things that keep us from being effective leaders? They were having to solve these problems in the midst of revolutionary transformation, you see. So that's what I mean by the practical application. When you read Combat Liberalism by Mao Zedong, that shit today is still the most gangster shit I ever read. I read it at least twice a year just to do self-checking. When you read Combat Liberalism, if your ass ain't made uncomfortable, something is wrong with you, because you ain't perfect. We all liberal. Our movement is particularly plagued by liberalism. What is liberalism? He talks about the different ways, I think like 15 ways that liberalism manifests itself inside revolutionary organization. But these are some of the things that we do on a regular basis to be, because somebody is your homie, right? You don't check them when you know that they've gone astray. Huh? That piece was written almost.
Read them out.
I don't have it in front of me. But that piece was written almost 100 years ago, and it reads like something that was written yesterday, right? to keep in good favor with your leadership so you don't check them when you know they've gone astray. Right? What are some of the other ones? To not engage in principled argument, but to gossip behind one's back. What? That's what I mean by practical application. So if the Chinese Communist Party, who won their shit, was going through that, right? Mao Zedong had to have a whole meeting, right, in front of thousands of people to say, how are we going to combat liberalism? Because this shit is what our enemy uses to infiltrate. It's our weaknesses that present as liberalism that give the enemy the opportunity in the spaces to come up in our shit and take advantage of that. Then comes criticism and self-criticism. So once you identify liberalism and the various ways that it presents itself, then you can go into criticism and self-criticism and praise, right? You can say, okay, well, how do you criticize healthfully? You know, how do you criticize, not gently, strongly, but in revolutionary love? Not to demean or be condescending to your comrade, but to lead them in right way so that we can all grow from the process, right? How do you criticize with principle? How do you criticize with revolutionary love, right? So I'm telling you, man, there's so much decadent, dysfunctional shit that is allowed to happen in the movement. And it's always after the fact that we say, you know, this, that, and the other. We can criticize, you know, whoever we want. I can call names. We can criticize Sedis and Umars, and we can criticize whoever we want. But if we, the leaders inside the movement, had not been liberal and had challenged these Africans in the beginning, not to make them look bad, not to demean them, not to discredit them, but to lead them in right direction, you see. Because what's happening in our movement is that decadent ass behavior is allowed to exist and thrive and flourish because we do not have a mechanism for correction. We do not have a mechanism for punishment. We do not have this idea within the general movement, regardless of organization, that say all the Black Power movement organizations, these are our points of unity. Even though we may not believe the same things ideologically, these 10 items, these 5 items, we can all get down with. And so if we have conflict to resolve inside our organizations, this is the universal body that we can go to and say, these are the punishments for crimes against Africans, right? These, you know, this is how you rectify your behavior if you committed an infraction against us or one of us. We don't have that. So people get used up in the movement. People get demoralized. Say, fuck that Black Power shit. Because there is no mechanism within our organization where people can seek justice, where we can guarantee that Africans that have gone astray, because it'll happen. That's not to say that they're bad human beings. It's saying that we will go astray. How do we lead them in right direction? How do we coach them in a way that can bring them back into the fold and they become useful to the movement? That's all.
If I could, sister, but
yes, please.
just for the record, and so that the family understands.
Like robot.
One of those principles that you mentioned.
You're saying, Cut.
Just now.
Is that my shit right there? Or is that him?
Of combat liberalism.
Is it me?
If the family can still hear me.
I didn't hear anything.
We stand for active ideological.
I didn't hear anything you said.
Can't hear you.
Tut.
I don't know what's going on. So we can't hear you.
Yeah. It wasn't me though, right? You can hear me fine?
Nah, yeah, we hear you fine. Rock, you with us?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still here.
Okay, so I know you performing. So let's kind of talk about that. Your portion and what you plan to bring to this event. You in the gang.
Yeah, you know, shit, part of stuff. But me and Musa showing up. Unfortunately, Kofi and Registered, they got emergencies to come that came up. So it'd be me, Musa, and Bree.
Oh yeah,
But you know, we bringing what we bring every time, man. That's black love. You know what I'm saying, and love for the youth that's coming up, man. That's what mostly what we, you know, me and my wife, we trying to strengthen the the love between the black man and the black woman because we need that love and honesty and trust between men and women as a foundation for this movement. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Because we can't even begin to spend with each other or get a have a treasurer or a secretary or treasurer to hold the money, to hold the pot. We won't even trust our own with the money yet before, you know what I'm saying? If we don't love each other, we won't trust each other with money, with finances,
right,
with
right.
with being a leader, or you know what I'm saying, coming up with solutions. So we have to restore that relationship between black man and woman and the youth. You know what I'm saying? Because we look at the youth and we pass judgment a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And and that's not the move that we should be making.
And for y'all,
Just like the
you and
sister,
Mister, y'all just did a on Black Love Day. Y'all just did
yeah,
a feed in the
on
community. Let's
Valentine's,
talk about let's
yeah.
talk about that.
On
Talk about that.
Valentine's, we've been doing that for the past 3 years. So on Valentine's Day, while everybody, you know what I'm saying, is being romantic, we going out and feeding the public, feeding the youth. You know what I'm saying? People that are less fortunate
Mm,
outside. You know what I'm saying? We
right.
chose to do that on that day. You know what I'm saying? And also coming up in the summer, the first day, June 20th, I believe, we throwing the second annual Black Love and Appreciation Cookout.
Mm,
And that's, you know what I'm saying, a free cookout for the city, for the city of Charlotte. All we ask for you Africans to do is come out and be with us. We got the food, we got the music, we got people that's going to be out there with their own products, own services. You know, they have poetry, kids that's going to be out there. So we just want black people to come out and show that we can come together. Because what happens a lot of times, like, black people can't come together. But I done been plenty places over the past 6 years where we've been
right.
together and displayed unity. You know what I'm saying? It might not be the grandiose thing that people want to see, but that's a step. That's a step towards that. You know what I'm saying? And I've been to plenty states. I've been to places where I've seen you knowledge born. I've seen the Yapo. I've seen
Right.
Coyote. You know what I'm saying? So we all make sacrifices to go to these states, to go to these cities, to
Yes.
show that we are in solidarity with our people.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, and we choose to be the example that we want to see.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
all got our own differences and everything like that, but we respect each other's differences. We respect each other's likes and dislikes, etc. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That's the foundation of it all.
Yeah.
And I
And y'all
choose to
living
do it
by
through, and I
example.
choose to do it through music.
And y'all
Exactly.
living by
And
example.
I choose to use my talent of music. I choose to use my talent of music as well. You know what I mean? It's, it's what I've been doing since I was 12 years old. It's one of the things that I could do without thinking. You know what I mean? I could just get to it.
All right. Most definitely. We know you're gonna rock the microphone. It's not theory. It's practice.
Yeah, facts.
So what?
Straight up.
Hey, hey, talk to us about this event, man. What was this brainchild and how did this come about with this reunification? Tut.
I know Tut.
Yeah, man.
I see him on. I don't know if
Oh,
he.
can you hear me
Right.
now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we hear
Yeah.
You
you.
hear me?
Come on, DJ Cool.
All right.
Clear your throat.
Well,
Out.
let's do the thing, man. Let's do the thing, man. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to, with this propaganda from where we are in the African diaspora in the
Mhm.
West, in the United States, um, our homeland, our continent. We know that the drum is the instrument for of message distances, and particularly in warfare, where we are now in the Western diaspora in Babylon. So it's just a shout out to our brothers and sisters on the continent and their form of hip hop now. They have always followed us. They've been checking for the hip hop. Now they got their little thing. So we just reach out to them and support as Africans in the Western diaspora to our continental brothers and sisters. Let them know, hey, Afro Beats and my work in the African Union kind of facilitated that a little bit. You'll see some Africans from the continent out there at this event. You'll see the Cameroonian community, the Nigerian community, and it's important politically at this time because the old orange head boy put out some travel restrictions, particularly on Nigeria, that's affecting them directly. And so I didn't know that he was going to do that when we started organizing this concert, but he just did it. And
Yeah.
in the midst of organizing it, they hit my phone. They're like, my brother, you know. And you know, we have that little experience in history with the Nigerians being kind of slick, you know, they like to run the little scam thing. But I said to myself, nah, the Africans made this happen at this time because what we're doing. And that's another thing. So from the political to the spiritual, what we did, and Knowledge Boy can say, and Rocker too, that the ancestor energy was there where we were when we did that music festival in September.
That's right.
They turned off the damn light
That's right.
and then turn it back
Indeed.
on.
Indeed.
And when you watch the video and see at the they did it at pivotal moments too.
Right.
That's what I was checking for. Check at the Knowledge Boy. You was rocking the mic. You was hosting all of it. You the one said, "Hey, look, now the lights coming back on."
That's right.
So we have a vehicle. As long as we, as my sister has been so eloquently stating, put the political education behind it. No matter what happens, whether you know, which we're gonna put the work behind it. But even if it does not carry the energy to go throughout decades, at least we can at this foundation point put the proper political education behind it. So no matter where the energy goes, you know that it has that to carry forward with it. And that was my main thing with organizing this festival because, as you know, Knowledge Born, as I've said, it's propaganda. We are a fledgling nation in the West, in the United States, clamoring to see ourselves free, trying to gain the skills of statehood and statecraft to be able to form our own nation. And so, uh, as my sister said earlier, at the beginning of her statement, I didn't understand. She said she had knew all along, but I didn't. All the political work, I didn't know that the music would be the thing that would actually be the spark that would create the type of national diasporan Western political organization that could actually represent itself in our generation. I thought it would be something else. You know, maybe the UNI ain't got a regeneration, the All African People Revolutionary Party. I never imagined. But I was out there and I saw the ancestors come. I saw the elder and now our ancestor, you know, bless the ceremony. The ancestor that blessed the elder at the time that blessed our ceremony is now an ancestor. So I mean, I know what we did. I'm coming to understand it. But in order for it to truly mean something, as the sister said, we have to put the proper political education. We got to make it stick.
I want
We got to
to
make it
interject.
where it's the foundation of it. Go
I
ahead.
want to interject for a minute because one of the other things that I feel like is important to raise all the time is when I talk about the centrality of music to the political work, it's not a small thing. I don't know if you guys have ever, I'm sure you have seen the documentary, the Fela Kuti documentary called Music is the Weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it before?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things early in that documentary that he talked about when he was being interviewed is here is a Nigerian, right? Raised by a revolutionary mother, right? He said that he did not understand who he was as an African until he came to Los Angeles. And so he came to the United States and saw the struggle of African people in America. Did he understand who he was fully as an African? That's a goddamn statement. And to me, and it was what politicized his music, right? And even, you know, there are instances throughout history where we can look at how the music was shaped by the movement and the motion of Africans in revolutionary or political life since the turn of the century, right? And we can look at the Harlem Renaissance. The Harlem Renaissance was not separate from the political struggles that were happening in this country at the same time. It was an expression of what was happening politically to our people in the 1920s and the 1930s, right? And so
the Red Summer.
So the other thing that I want to mention is this about music. So there's a reason that I'm passionate about music. I'm a musician. I was born a musician. My father was a musician. I played the saxophone for 22 years, went to college for music before I ever went to medical school. Like, this is like etched in my genetic material. So it's not like I'm talking just as an obsessed fan, which I tend to be. But the question of music and you know, Professor Griff, I've heard him do lectures where he talks about this in some arenas where he talks about, and I think you mentioned it too, you know, and people of color, how music was not just, quote, entertainment. It was functional. It was a functional part of daily life, whether it was in ceremony, whether it was, and you still see remnants of it in this culture, where even under the worst kinds of conditions, you know, picking cotton from sun up to sundown, Africans were using music to heal the wounds of colonization. They were singing collectively while in the field. They were singing on the chain gangs while building the railway systems of this damn country, or clearing swamps or what have you. So music has been recognized, you know, at a subconscious level by our people as something that was a necessity to endure this shit that had been imposed on us. And the last thing I will say about it is this, Africans, is that there is a reason that we don't talk about in depth, but there is a reason that Africans in America have been the trendsetters for every major type of music for the last 100 years. Gospel didn't emerge in the West Indies. Gospel didn't emerge in South America, yet slavery existed in South America and in the West Indies. Jazz did not emerge in either of these places. Blues did not emerge in any of these places. Rap did not emerge in any of these places. R&B, soul, right? Any type of cultural leap forward that has been made globally has its origins in Africans in America. Why? It is because of the peculiar nature of how our colonization was expressed, you see. See, in South America, in Mexico, in the West Indies, in the Caribbean islands, colonization, slavery was brutal, just as it was here. But the difference was because they were colonized by Catholics, there was still this way that we were able to hide and keep this relationship with Africa, right? We still had Islam. We still could, we could hide our ancestral deities in our Orisha. up inside, the Catholic sect. There was still this way that we could maintain an umbilical cord to Africa, right?
That's it.
That was denied us under Protestant colonization, where drums were taken from us, where, our tongues were cut out for speaking our indigenous language. It was the peculiar nature of our colonization in America that forced us to create these ways of trying to maintain a relationship with home. So I'm not saying that somehow Africans in America are more creative or better. It is the way colonization played out in our lives that had us struggling always to maintain a relationship with home. The handball, where you playing the drums on your body and shit, you clapping and stomping in the church, trying like hell to maintain some historical subconscious relationship with home is what gave rise to the expressions that are peculiar to the United States, right? So what I'm saying is, that is one of the reasons. It is the cultural expression of colonized Africans that has had the entire world set their sights on us for the last 100 years. We have been the trendsetters of the entire planet, yet still maintain the worst colonial relationship to our society. So it's not a small thing what I'm talking about. When I talk about the centrality of culture to revolutionary movements, I am talking about in a very organic, real-world way. What America would not be America if it weren't for not just Africans. America would not be America without its particular brutality towards Africans.
Right.
You understand? That's why it's a goddamn problem. That's why people get mad. And the problem is we have not taught people how to articulate their frustrations about why they hate white boy rappers, or why white boys be playing the blues and we get an attitude about it, or why we can't stand to see no white boy playing the saxophone calling as a musician. It is because you cannot separate the creation from the experience of the creator.
Facts.
White boy, what you know about the fucking blues?
Facts.
You see what I'm saying? And so we have to always be challenging society. Cultural appropriation isn't just about white people trying to be black or white people trying to act Mexican. It is about a colonial mentality that still has them appropriating every single solitary thing that they lay their eyes on. Their entitlement towards everything that we produce. That's what we have to call it. We can't get caught up in no shit about cultural appropriation. It's just braids. It's just whatever they decide they want to steal on any given goddamn day. We still have to place it squarely within the context of colonial mentality and goddamn colonial entitlement.
Yep.
And our culture. I'm just saying.
That's fact.
I see.
Yes, and y'all were right. It was more than 10 minutes. My bad.
Hey, everything was worth being said right there.
Damn it, that's right. That's why I said
I ain't got no problem.
Out of there, not a single solitary problem. You see anybody got a problem? No.
Ain't nobody. Let me know. Tell me the nigga name. That's all you gotta do. Yeah, that's all you gotta
I was coordinated.
The last thing I'll say about it is this, that so much of what we produced in the last 100 years has been produced out of our pain, right? It has been produced in response to our pain or to address our pain, right? Or to heal from our pain. But I look forward to the kind of dynamic creations of sovereign Africans. Like, if we can create the kind of genius that we've created under slavery and colonialism, imagine the genius that will be unleashed when we are finally sovereign and independent. Imagine the kind of creations we will have the liberty to be involved in culturally. What our entire spirit, our physical body, our mental body, our spirit is freed up to create on our own terms. The shit is just brilliant and it's genius and it's exciting to think about what culture is gonna look like once we free ourselves from this shit.
Well, I think a quote from Dr. Collins is appropriate here. Dr. Collins said, when the African mind is free, when the African man and woman's mind is free, even if it's through our babies or through our babies' babies, if we too afraid to do it today, when that set loose on the white man, then we're gonna talk about a real revolution. But it's only gonna happen if we organize it today. It's not going to happen tomorrow if we don't organize it today. That's
right.
You know what I mean? Yes, sir. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I'm always encouraged. Even, even in the midst of some struggles that we have in the movement, and every now and again, some controversy may, arise among the group. I'm still always more encouraged than I am like demoralized by what is happening in the world. Trump and this move that he made with Nigeria is in response. It's a crisis move. It's in response to how Africans are internalizing their sameness with our brothers and sisters at home. It is in response to these African brothers and sisters going home to be reconnected with the traditions of their ancestors. It's in response to the power that they know that we receive when we are linked up with our brothers and sisters at home. So we should be encouraged by that. We shouldn't be demoralized by it. We should move around it, move how we can. But at the end of the day, understand that people are on the run. They are making moves based on the crisis that they are experiencing, because they know their gig is up. They know their time is up. They know their shit is right on the brink. They taking their last breaths, and they're doing everything possible to rescue themselves. That's all. So I don't cry crocodile tears when I'm like, yeah, bitch, keep running. Yeah, that's some bullshit you just did. But I understand, I understand the mechanism. I understand what this white boy is doing.
Let me say this, sister. That I work for the African Union. So like Nigeria has a consulate in Atlanta, right? So these guys hit my phone. We've been doing business together for years, right? And I don't think that the implications of what the orange haired boy did has really hit us yet. And I think that it would be proper, and I think that's why I said that's another thing about the fact of the music festival. I sent a message to them. They'll be there, and they'll know we'll be in solidarity. We'll be speaking in support of what they're going through. So what you say is very pertinent, and us as the vehicle that we're creating as a Western diaspora organization can, just with our voice and with that unification effort towards the continent and Afro beats, make a difference in that political decision that was made in Washington.
You got Asad the God in the building. What's going on with you, Black Power to you, King? What's happening?
Asad.
What's good? How are y'all?
What it do?
The multi-talent, multi-faceted, the rebirth of Imhotep.
Peace to the young phenom.
Man.
Right.
Young phenom right
man.
There. Yeah. That's him. That's that guy. What's up, Asad?
On the fire. What's going on? Let the family know what you drinking in the building.
Got in late. My bad about that. I didn't know exactly what time it was started. My apologies for my tardiness.
You good?
I got into a very heated discussion, I see, but I'm not sure what the topic was. But
we telling the truth and shaming the devil. That's what we doing over here, telling the truth and shaming the devil. Okay. You understand?
It's very good that you. It's good that you chime in at that point, Asad, because our sister was getting us into political focus, which was very important. Sister Ayapo was bringing into our political focus. And as I discussed with you, we're not only pulling together this particular event and later on this year, the RBG Music Festival, but we're organizing
Right.
towards establishing the African nation. So, as you know, and I press Asad, y'all. That's my dude. So, not only is he a talented artist as a rapper, and as we found out at the RBG Music Festival, a singer,
Singer.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he also his younger sisters and their comrades
Right.
Perform with him. So it's a family situation that we have going on with Sister Nikita and my brother Asad here. And so I want you to just briefly, not I ain't gonna go on and on. Tell them about your organization and involvement as a youth and your training.
So, like he said, for those who didn't know, my name is Asad. Wise Intelligent from Righteous Teachers. He nicknamed me Asad the God, and people told me to just go with that because it's white and eloquent, so I just went with that. I'm a rapper.
Wise gave you your name.
Yeah. People just told me to go with that.
Wow. Okay.
So,
wow. Go ahead.
I'm a rapper, singer, actor, writer. I do a lot of stuff. My siblings do a lot of that as well. Where should I start? I'm gonna start with
Where did you go to school? Where did you go to school?
I've been homeschooled the majority of my entire life, and then I went to Quilombo for 2 years. But yeah, I've been in the public school system at all. Not really. My mother is a homeschool teacher, and her school is called Each One Teach One. That's the school that I've been going to, and my the performing arts group that I created, we're now calling ourselves Icon Records, and basically the work that we do in the community is mostly in the direction of the innovation of music and the arts and just overall entertainment when it comes to what the youth bring in. The adults, they pretty much have everything that they got going on, but like the future, everything's going to be the youth. So I think it's really, really, really important that we nurture and sustain and build on what the youth have right now, because that's going to be pretty much all there is in like 20 years. So we basically work on the innovation of music, the innovation of dance, innovation of entertainment, innovation of enlightenment in general. I don't think music is just entertaining. Music is also something that can teach you. Music is something that guides a lot of people through life. So I want to help in every way that I can in that type of guidance. That's just where I fit in.
Right. And tell us real quick, comrade, who are some of the elders? You mentioned that your mother runs the homeschool, where you went for a few years at Quilombo African Institute in Atlanta family is another African-centered school on the east side of, we're actually in Decatur. And so you, as you said, never touched that public school system.
Right. Now.
So tell us, who are some of the elders who have guided you along your way and developing as an African warrior?
Baba Mwali Muridi, Baba Wakesa Mazimoyo, what's that guy's name? The Irritated Genie. Let me see. As an
Atlanta youth, I know you got to have Irritated Genie up under your belt. I know you need a strong, heavy dose of that down here, don't we?
Yeah.
Right.
Low tolerance for everything. I like it. That's like
who else?
The main chunk, the main handful. They do a whole lot of work, and Queen Thais does a whole lot of work around here. You do a whole lot of work around here. Yeah.
And you also studied with Mama Marimba, right?
Oh yeah, my marimba. The people from the rites of passage that I went through, Anand Sekunda, Baba Kolade, Baba Taye, Mama Jifa, all mamas familiar. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So as you can see, family, this is our youth. You know, this one come from us. Absolutely, ain't been touched by the cracker system, and th- I look forward to him doing not only just performing as an artist, but doing great organizing work here, not only in Atlanta but nationally and throughout the world in the future. He comes from great heritage. So thank you, my brother, for coming on. Anything else the family want to ask the brother or say about his presentation?
I see them perform live on the stage. You understand what I'm saying? They look like grown folk. But actually, they put some of them grown folk to shame. I'm gonna just be honest
All
and
I
say,
all I
I
you
all I
know.
can say
understand
is
what I'm
bring
saying?
that heat.
Bring that heat back again. Show that multi-dimensional, multifunctional African mind and what it looked
Right.
like with that creativity and brilliance when it's uninterrupted. You understand what I'm saying?
Most
So
Man,
for the
Right.
youth to be out
man,
there,
look,
you a doorway. You and Queen Bree is the doorway of the brother and the sister of the new African nation that we need to see. I'm gonna just be straight up with it.
right,
Straight up, for
straight
real.
up.
Salute to
And
the young guys
and
because I
and
was
we can look
thoroughly
forward.
entertained.
Go ahead, Rock.
Right. And Brother
I said
Rocker,
salute to him because yo,
go ahead.
yeah, I was just saying salute to the young guy because I was thoroughly impressed with his performance, his wordplay, his intelligence, like hip hop and music. In my when I see young guys like him, I know that the music will still be in good hands. The message will always be relayed. You know, like that's my biggest thing. You know what I'm saying? As long as the baton is passed on to the next generation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
That's why you
And
see
Yes,
give
me.
sir.
That's why you see me big up. I big up all of you on social media. When Damani Troop come out with some new joints, I make sure
Yeah,
I keep
that's
pushing.
my hope.
Whenever I see the youth putting out music, I make sure that it gets an outlet for me. At least for me.
Right, right.
So all I can say is, man, salute to you, man. I appreciate your
Right.
art and everything
Right.
you do, young God.
Thank you. Thank you. Means a lot. Means a whole lot.
Get a youth a message before you go. Get a youth a message. Everybody listening, you know you're gonna share this around with your friends. You're gonna tell them, hey, I was on TV over here with these old people. You understand? Give them a message of empowerment to take it. They're listening to you before they listen up. We ain't got
Listen, do
we ain't
not
got
count
to
me
say
in that circle of old folk, okay?
we're not talking about you,
I,
African woman. We talking about us old folk. The old folk know who we talking about. We ain't talking about you. You understand
I
what I'm saying?
just
So
look.
hey,
That's
we grew up with switches and stuff. I don't want no trouble. So give your counterparts a message of empowerment. Let them know, create that vision for what they need to see about themselves and what they can find in your music and what we need to be striving for in the future.
Got you. Got you. Was that a question?
Yes, that was a question.
Oh, could you say it again? I only heard one part of it. I think you were skipping.
Okay, I said you got your family, you got your friends, you got the youth listening out here, and they depending on your voice. So give them a message. What message of empowerment do you have for them? What kind of
Oh,
creative vision, and what should we be striving for in the future?
so a message for the youth. Basically, just understand because what I see right now in the community, a big thing that we need to work on is the connection between the generation that came before us and the generation that we have now. Because there's a
Mm,
really big uh, disconnection, and I'm just seeing the older people, not like elders and everything, but like the older generation, the generation before us, being really committed, being really passionate about all of this, but the younger people not really feeling pulled. Everyone's always talking about this big war that could break out, but a lot of the youth don't really like. We're not really like trying to hear about like a huge war. We don't actually believe that a war is gonna break out or is going on, and it's really because it's not the type of war that we understand. It's not a physical war with guns, even though we are being killed and everything. But the war that we specifically are being exposed to right now is a spiritual warfare, and that's the warfare that the parents and the generation before us are trying to fight, as well as the physical one. But I just feel like in general, there's a big disconnection between the two generations in multiple things, not just in some war in our head. But I just feel like you don't have to, even at your age, you don't have to disconnect from the community just because you don't really relate to it. We all see that there's something wrong with the world. There's at least one big thing that we all see that we could change in the world. And we all know what we're passionate about. So to me, it's like, as long as you just stay authentic and stay true to yourself, you're gonna know how life is gonna mold you into the puzzle piece that's gonna be missing from like just your whole life. With me, every time I'm listening to music or watching live performances or anything having to do with entertainment, I'm never really like satisfied with the amount of the soul that the artist put in it. So over time, I just started to fill the gaps that are in me with basically myself. Just like as an example, the same thing that happened with my biological father. I haven't seen him since I was 7 years old, and my entire life I've just learned to be the role model that I've always needed for myself. You're not always gonna have someone that you can particularly rely on your whole life. There have been people who I've looked up to as like different actors, men that I've looked up to, and then they fell themselves in my eyes. So now I'm feeling all crashed and everything because they failed me. But really, I shouldn't have put them at such a high caliber in the first place because the whole world is human. Everyone's human. So I've just learned to fill the gap within myself with myself and be all that I need. And when you do that, I really think that's when you become God, because God is that which exists from its own will. It's that which brought itself into existence. So I think if like all the youth just let go of, I know there's a lot of pressure and everything, especially coming up in the teenage years and everything, but just be yourself. Just be the God that and the goddesses that everyone already naturally is. And life is just going to unfold the way it's supposed to unfold. And even if you don't know what you're supposed to do now, as long as you're just being authentically yourself, it's going to come out. What you're alive for is going to come out. And once you do that, just give everything you have to that. And that's going to be your blessing for the world. Because that's what the youth is. The youth is just blessings. That's what the youth is. The generation before us prayed for answers and prayed for blessings, and the children came. That's what children are. We're blessings. So, yeah, just be 100% yourself. Be 100% authentic. Express how you feel. And you know what's truly real in your heart. You're going to know what's real and what's fake. So, just fight for what's real. Fight for what's real to you. And that's basically it.
Ashe. The ancestor return.
Ashe.
Ashe.
I see what that mind sound like when it ain't got Ritalin in it, when it ain't got Paxol and Hadol and IEP plans and all that stuff.
Right.
And like when it is uninfluenced
Raw.
by
I'm talking about raw.
chemical and
Straight from the
biological
ATL.
warfare. You understand what I'm saying? So like this is
Man.
optimal. This is optimal.
And I want to say this. When I think about Asad, I think about Tupac. Because
everyone says that. Everyone says that.
I know it. I bet they do. I bet they do. Because it's because I mean, damn, you got the organizational skill and history. You have the arts, performance, and training. He downplays a lot his life. I have to discover Asad on certain things. Just like at the music festival, I didn't know he could sing. He just always rap. I've had Asad at African Liberation Day and at community assemblies and all that. He just rap. Then at the music festival, he all of a sudden started singing. I was like, what the hell? Right? They can sing for real. Right? So I mean, our youth are so dynamic. And as my sister Yapo said earlier, all we have to do is put them inside of the structure. We just have to work to put them inside the structure and watch them flourish.
Yes.
And also a lot of our older generation artists, people of my generation, we have to put these youth in position to be noticed.
Right.
We can't let them go unnoticed.
Right.
I would go a step further. Not just to be noticed, to be put in positions of power.
Facts. That's facts.
To be put in positions of power, because there is a way, especially with African youth, not necessarily children, but like teenagers, where almost kind of we have a knee-jerk response when they speak. That somehow, because of their age, they know less, which is problematic because, one, we can't really believe that their ancestors returned and treat them that way. We can't believe they come. That's real life. We can't believe they come with ancient wisdom and demote the significance of what they come here with. So when I talk about the centrality of African culture in revolutionary work, I am talking about the energy and enthusiasm that young people bring to the table, not just to have them, quote, sing and dance and shit for our, and they so cute. That's cute. No, what I'm talking about is putting African young people in positions of power.
Right.
Yeah, yo. That shit has to happen.
You hear that, Asad?
Yeah. And another thing, one thing that I think the adults, I'm not talking to anyone specifically, just something I've seen in my community, because I can only talk about my own community and things that we have to work on as one whole. If the adults want an outcome out of us, if they want us to be great, they have to understand that to get there, you have to really mold us and train us into that greatness.
Oh my God.
A lot of adults in the African community are just like dumbfounded, like wondering why their children are not truly African, wondering why they have them in all these African schools, but they still listen to the mumble rap, that they're still interested in white girls, they're still doing this and that and all these different things that are of the European mindset. But at home, you're letting them be on the phone all freaking day. You're letting them listen to anything they want. You're letting them do whoever they want. So that's what you're gonna get. That's what you're gonna get. They have to understand that if you want this thing, you have to take that path. You can't take this path and expect to get this thing over here. Nah, you take this path.
Young African bringing the word.
I'm just saying. Because they have so much.
So Asad, go ahead.
They have so much high expectations of all the youth that they don't have training programs that set up to directly teach them in school how to do what they decided that's their passion. This is how I'm going to help the community. Because I know I'm not going to stop getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And once I do, I'm going to start making millions. And once I do, I'm bringing those millions back to the community. I already have a whole bunch of stuff set up for every single one of my talents. How can each one of my talents go back and help the community on the other side once I get there? Leah, they can read. But I've already set up. Each one of my talents can already come back all the way to the community. But most of the youth don't really think about that. They have talents, but they don't really think, how can my talents help keep my community good? Because they don't really want to be here. They don't really want to be here. If they really get big and blow up, they'd probably go to Hollywood and stay in Hollywood because they. Another thing that we had to work on in the African community is being more professional. We don't pay our talent enough. I literally actually began for performing last year, but I've been performing all my life. Why is that? But I go outside of the community and I'm just getting paid like fast. Because white people don't want us to be in the community. They don't want the real talent, the real actual big voices that can trigger power in other people to be in the community. So they're actually going to pay us to keep doing business outside of the community while I'm only doing business inside of the community for free. That's not going to put bills on that. That's not going to pay any bills. That's not going to keep me alive on the earth. So if the community wants to keep power, they have to help sustain power, and that's love.
Can I interject? Can I interject?
Yeah.
Go ahead, sis.
So before the young African got on the call, I talked about my experience inside the Uhuru movement and some of the issues that that I experienced or internalized that were peculiar around the question of culture. And a lot of the ideas that I acquired in the movement, I had to consciously undo once I separated from that organization. I had to consciously abandon these ideas that we think are somehow Black and are anti-African. One of the ideas, one of the things that used to happen all the time, it's a type of manipulation is what it is, that under the guise of political unity, the movement had a bad habit of constantly going to African cultural workers and asking them to work for fucking free. Had a bad habit. Here, your whole movement net is in the but you constantly go to African cultural workers and ask them to create a dynamic for your event and to do it out of quote political unity, which means, nigga, can you do it for free? Right? And we were always making struggle with them about, about paying Africans the value of their labor. Right? And the problem part of it was, again, not seeing the cultural work as central, as a lightning rod for bringing people into political life, into African consciousness, African-centered consciousness, right? They saw the cultural work as an aside. That's part of the problem. So they didn't understand the value that cultural workers bring to revolutionary life, right? The second thing is it's still this hood-ass mentality that we come into the work with, and a hood mentality is nothing but a colonial mentality. It is some shit that is imposed on us from the outside in, and because we, quote, black it up, that becomes the excuse for why we excuse certain behavior. But when we look at the turn of the century, when we look at the Harlem Renaissance, when we look at the 1910, when we look at the UNIA in its heyday, even the poorest of Africans in this country understood the value of putting their money into the UNIA to grow the African nation. You talk about sharecroppers who had nothing, who were giving their last penny to buying stocks in the UNIA and the Black Star Line, right? So it's not this Black thing that we've come to accept. It is a colonial mentality that we come into the work with, and it is my hugest opposition that we have this bad habit of not wanting to pay Africans the value of their labor. So it goes back to what is it that we try to create when we talk about trying to create a sovereign nation? Are we trying to create a chocolate-covered capitalism, a chocolate-covered imperialism? You understand, where we exploit people for their damn labor, where we don't pay people the value of their labor, where the workers are not equal owners of the wealth that they produce? Oh, man. No, we can't do that. I just appreciate you so much, Asad.
Yeah, I'll take that. I add something to that, Yapo, because I used to be one of those who thought that way. Like, why we got to pay? But then you understand, and it's an exchange. And also, a lot of these, you got to take into the account that these cultural workers, they don't work for the pale man. They don't work. So they don't.
I didn't hear that part, brother. Say that again.
The cultural workers that we actually do work for us, they don't work for the pale man. So we have to make sure that they're able to sustain what they're doing to help the community.
One of the things that has to happen, Rock, is we have to create different priorities.
Yeah.
Because we quick to say what we don't have, but we have access to a lot. And if we have the will, if we have the political will, we can pay our cultural workers. The question is, do we have the political will, or are we still stuck in this mentality where we're trying to get something for nothing? That's the honest question that we have to ask ourselves.
We can't do that.
No, we can't do that. And at the end of the day, that's right. Because at the end of the day, what happens is you force people with immense talent to become political whores because they have to eat, because they have to work. Or what you do is you diminish their ability to create at their best because they worry about having to go work for this cracker, or they worry about how they're going to pay their rent, or they worry about how they're going, how they're going to fulfill the bare necessities. So it takes away from their time that they can be spending producing revolutionary music. If we understand the centrality to revolutionary culture, if we understand the long view about how the culture can become the lightning rod that attracts the many to the line, then we understand that paying cultural workers the value of their labor becomes an investment that we make in our political liberation. That's all.
Exactly. And that's all I was getting to, because I was like that at first, but I was like, you know what? This is an exchange and I need this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I need this for my people.
But I used to do the same thing, African. I used to, I'm a healer, so I used to be always, giving away my craft for free. I felt guilty charging people the value of my labor, to put my hands on them or to treat them or what have you. We can't do that shit. I'm $186,000 in student loan debt. I had to pay somebody for the acquisition of these skills.
Exactly.
And we have to see the value of the skills that Africans bring to the movement. That's real life. That's real life. We can't keep complaining about, white people pay us the value of our labor, but what we need to do is we need to be changing our mentality about the skills that our people bring to the table, and not only paying them the value of their labor, but being gleefully, joyfully happy to pay Africans the value of their labor.
Yep. Yeah, I know I do.
Not grudgingly, not trying to get a deal. Gleefully and joyfully paying Africans the value of their labor.
Right. And to be honest,
I know
everything we need. I know farmers. I know people who make clothes. Like all these different vendors. When you go to different events, you see we have everything. We do absolutely.
Yeah.
We are amazing.
Yeah.
We just don't do it enough.
You're right.
Well, I remember
we don't need Walmart. We don't need no restaurant.
Did you guys see the documentary The Upright Man about Thomas Sankara?
Of course.
Oh my God. When I tell you, if you ain't seen
made
it,
their own clothes.
Get your life right. They didn't just make their own clothes. What his position was that Africa provides everything that every African on the planet needs. And in order for us to understand that, I'm shutting down the borders. We ain't buying nothing from white people. They can't bring nothing here. We ain't giving them shit.
Yeah.
If you get caught wearing American or foreign clothes, you getting the smack down. Like you couldn't wear anything.
Go.
Serious.
That's another very important, powerful thing. We have to have things that we're just not allowed to do. And since we're all one, and one person starts behaving with the European mindset, they should be punished. If you actually belong to a community, then that means the community takes care of you. That means that the community has power over itself, which means it also has power over you. If you belong to a community, the community should be the one who punishes you, and the community should also be the one who funds everything that you do. You should rely 100% on the community.
Now, isn't it revealing that this African is reiterating what we said before he was even on the phone? How old are you, African? How old are you, Asad?
I just turned 17 on Valentine's Day.
Oh, happy belated.
Thank you.
Wow, happy belated birthday.
We cannot discredit, we cannot make light of what African young people bring to the table in terms of political astuteness, in terms of enthusiasm, and in terms of a natural will to rebel, right? And we were talking earlier when we were talking about combat liberalism and, you know, the fear of responsibility and the fact that we don't have a governing body in our movement that can hold our people accountable, that can hold people who commit crimes against Africans accountable collectively, right? And so this brother just reiterated that we do have to create a culture, a revolutionary culture of accountability.
We need to a army, basically. We need to have an army. Again, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All the black men and black women who are in the community who always feel this anger and who know they strong as hell, they need to come together and create an army for the African community. We should have protection. We should have security. We should have our own police instead of calling the actual police. Those who are angry, those who are athletes, those who work out, those who might have been the military. I know Professor Griff, he's always down here. He goes with a real tight crew. They should just get a bunch of young black men, like young black warriors and young black women who all want to fight. Because a lot of us want to fight. A lot of us are just angry. We just want to fight. And what people don't understand is, I was watching the Black Panther movie. I don't think people realize how powerful the movie would have been or how powerful Wakanda would have been if Killmonger and the Black Panther just decided to come into an agreement and work together. That would have been the most powerful thing on the face of the planet. Killmonger he's not evil. He just has a lot of pent up anger and doesn't know what to do with it. But if they just used him properly, everyone has a place. But even when it comes to the story of Asad and Asad, y'all know about that? The story of Asad and Asad and Situk and Heru.
Break it down.
So I'm not gonna go over the whole story because it's like stupid long. But basically, Asad.
Yeah, I know. We know it. We know it.
Yeah. Situk is not necessarily evil. He just has his little ways and everything. And his energy is gonna be his fiery energy. But fire is only dangerous when you do stupid stuff with it. If you use fire properly, it's extremely powerful, and it's like power. Power is not evil. Like it just really depends on whose hands the power is in. So we have a lot of power in the African community. We have a lot of angry people, and there are places for them. There's a place for every single person. Like those angry people, those people who can fight, those people who usually end up in jail because they have no idea what to do with their anger. They need to be our army.
Right.
Well, I will revisit Thomas Sankara again and say this. He had a quote that was, a soldier without political education is nothing but a potential thug, a potential criminal. Right.
Right.
So again, it is about centering.
My last name is Sankara. My last name is Sankara, Thutmose Sankara. I'm versed on everything on Brother Sankara and Burkina Faso, and we're working on their case right now because the children diselected the guy who sold Sankara out last year. They kicked him out the country. He can't come back home. The children did it in Burkina Faso, and we're supplying support to them now. So, and we want to go to Africa for the RBG Music Festival in 2021. And so we're preparing for that also. And that is the political work that is connected to what we're discussing now.
Okay. Where is everyone from in here?
I currently live in LA.
Hey.
LA.
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Cool.
But I be missing Atlanta something fierce. I ain't gonna lie, man. Look,
Yeah.
I'm from the South. I'm from Alabama, but I moved out to here about 2 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But Atlanta's always been home. I ain't never lived in Atlanta a day in my life, but I always feel more at home there than I have anywhere else ever.
Yeah.
I love Atlanta. I love us, man. I mean, let me tell you, I just went to Atlanta in January for the first time since I've come out here, so about 2 years ago. And everything about Atlanta, I love how hood it is. I love how ghetto it is. I just love the extra blackness of Atlanta. I was at this, I went to this Waffle House the first night I got there. I'm like, I'm in Atlanta. I'm in the South. There ain't no Waffle House out here. I'm being all nostalgic. Let me go to the damn Waffle House and get me a pancake, right?
Yep.
I go to the Waffle House. It was my first night. I just gotten off my flight. I go to the Waffle House. I don't know what side of town I was in, but the Waffle House was so ghetto. It was so hood. Oh my God. There was one waitress. She talking on the phone. She like, yeah, la la la. She just going in, and this customer comes in. She like, hey, babe, how you doing? Hold on just a second. La 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 la. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was just so hood. I just instantly felt love. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be in a place where you can just be black on purpose. As black is on purpose. Oh my God, yo, I just love Atlanta. And being in LA, I was saying before you got on the phone aside, has been a serious learning curve for me, baby. You got to go looking for black people.
Exactly. Yep.
Forget what you heard. You got to go looking for us. We ain't just out and about, walking the street, hanging fucking like none of that. Yeah. You have to go looking for us. You understand? And when I first got here, that shit was like really demoralizing. I remember the first year I got here, it was like Black August. I was like, damn, I'm in LA. This shit gonna be lit. It's gonna be like 100 Black August events out this joint. It's gonna be great. Yo, my God. The South got it going on. Fuck what you heard. You understand? And I tell people out here that all the time. You say what you want to about the South. Everything that we love about America, quote unquote, everything that we identify as, quote, American culture has its origins in Africans in the South.
Everything.
Damn it. Every damn thing. Everything.
Civilization itself, the ability to behave civil, that came from us. We taught them when they were crawling on their hands and feet how to stand upright.
I'm not talking about ancient history. I'm talking about recent history. I'm talking about the last 200 years. Everything that is identifiable as something American has its origins in black people in the South.
Yep.
Period. All of it. Everything we love about everybody has its origins in the South. Yeah. Even what we call East Coast, Northeast culture has its origins in the South. Hip hop wouldn't exist without jazz and blues from Louisiana. Facts. Period.
Facts.
You understand? And so that conversation that we had earlier about music being central to revolutionary culture, and that the reason that Africans in America have had such an imprint on the entire global cultural system for the last 100 years is because of the peculiar nature of our suffering as Africans in America. That's why jazz emerged here. That's why blues emerged here. That's why rock and roll emerged here. That's why R&B and rap emerged here. It is because of the peculiar expression of exploitation and oppression that we had to endure, and that was our response to it. Right. Every given time. You see. So yeah, that part. You understand?
That part.
Man, I love us, man. Atlanta. I was in my hotel. I was only in Atlanta 2 days. I was mostly in the hotel, walking around the edge of the hotel. But I'm like, damn, I love this city so much, yo. I love us.
Yeah.
I love us.
Not seeing white people. Now when we see him, it's like, oh, white person, look over there. Yorugu, look over there.
Amin. And like, what you doing over in this side of town?
Right.
Wait, are you lost there?
Rare. I take a picture of it. Very rare.
No, it's real life. It's real life, yo. Yeah, I love it. I remember I went to Atlanta quite a number of years ago for the Malcolm X Festival.
Oh yeah.
This was, I don't know, maybe 2008. I went, and it was the first time I'd gone to the Malcolm X Festival. Baby, it was so daunting to me to be in the park with hundreds and hundreds of black people
Yep.
and never see a pig drive by, slow roll. I was like, baby, I was telling my husband at the time, we've been here for 2 days and I ain't seen a cop once. All these black people in the damn park.
Yeah.
That shit blew my mind.
Oh yeah.
That shit blew my mind.
Well, there's a brother here named Watani Tayahimba who organizes the Malcolm X Grassroots organization and the Malcolm X Grassroots Festival, who is so respected in the city of Atlanta that if they pull you over and say, I know Watani, Asad will tell you, I know Watani. Every police know this man and respect this man so much that when we have events, if Watani is organizing the security, you'll never have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
That's the power
That's
we
power,
have here.
baby.
That's power.
I love it. Yeah, that's power. Now, if we can leverage in a way that can yield something, you know, because the one disappointing thing or the one concerning thing about Atlanta is the rate of gentrification and how it's taken hold in that city. Like, the one thing that was stupefying to me when I came this last time, and it's only been 2 years since I've been back, was the presence of African homelessness, man. I ain't never seen no Atlanta with no motherfucking homelessness like that. Just
oh yeah.
The airport, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I
Homeless
saw
people in the airport.
Oh my God, it is a crime against humanity. I could not.
Yeah.
I just every square inch of everywhere in the airport. Oh my God. Oh my God. But yeah, the gentrification, like the power that black people still leverage in Atlanta has to be, to me, the trend setting. Atlanta has to be the trend setting city on how to appropriately address gentrification. Has to be. Atlanta has the ability to demonstrate to the rest of the country how to confront gentrification. But you can't keep having Africans at war with each other over ideology if you intend to win political space. You can't. You can't keep having Africans at war over philosophical and theological beliefs if you intend to leverage power. And that, I'm telling you, when we talk about combat liberalism earlier, that's what liberalism does. Liberalism provides weak spots for our enemy to invade our space.
Right.
Liberalism.
And as you said, sister, that same park you're talking about where you were at for the Malcolm X Festival, you were there, you said 2008?
Yes. Not a crack of insight.
It was 7 years. That was 7 years after, right across the street from that park, that the Atlanta police attacked Jamil Al-Amin.
Yes, I remember.
Right on the perimeter of that park. If you're in the park, you can look and see the spot where that confrontation occurred. And
no,
Jamil wasn't there at all.
I remember the house. I remember hearing about it when it happened. Somebody showed me the house. I remember.
Yeah. And so I mean, also in Atlanta, that's where Auntie Asada's Kamal Siddiqui, the murder of a Fulton County deputy, is what brought him back and got him on a life plus 10 because of a 31-year-old murder of Atlanta Fulton County deputy. But they only went and got him because he wouldn't make a deal with them to capture Asada again. So they hooked him up with the murder from the police in Atlanta.
Well,
don't forget, this is where Tupac museum was, where the statue was. Mama was here before that dude tricked her back out in California. So it's a lot of things happening here. So I concur with you with that energy, but the same question.
But what I am saying is we have two different issues. We have political work that we're doing ongoing, right? As a movement. But what good is the political work ongoing if we can see the broad daylight seizure of territory, seizure of black spaces? Atlanta is the blackest city on the continent. It is the blackest city on the continent. And all I am saying is in order to leverage the power, you have black wealthy people, you have black middle class people, and you have black working class people in Atlanta. And one thing that they can't agree on, and I saw it with the Black Power Awards, because there were several what I would consider wealthy people on the organizing committee for the Black Power Award. There were several wealthy people who made sizable contributions to execute that work. They saw the importance of that piece of work. And I am telling you that we have to leverage power on behalf of Africans in that city. White people are so comfortable with stealing lands that in broad daylight, Atlanta is becoming white in historically black territory. What does that mean for the organizers? That's all I'm saying is I remember being in Atlanta for years and years and years, and they never seen no brown person sleeping on the goddamn road.
Well,
I done been in that Atlanta.
It's brother Asad, you still on? I say this much right here. Like many American cities, I mean, I won't say particularly what the solution to the problem is, because I think we know that. It's called direct action. But I'll say this. It is a trend that is occurring. And you'll notice that gentrification, not only in Atlanta, but in many major American cities, is occurring simultaneously. If you would do a bit of research, the United Nations issued this initiative. It's called Agenda 21 from the United Nations. And so when you study that, you'll see how the attacks are all coordinated. But still, as you said, the responsibility. And I've been in meetings. I've been at the park right there where we had Malcolm X Festival, and crackers across the street got their rope tied up and trying to tight walk across the shit. And I just, run across there and tackle the cracker and keep running. But the fact of the matter is this. The fighters that are able to defend territory are only going to come out of organization. And Atlanta has always been an Uncle Tom city. I don't care how many black people have moved here. I'm from Florida. I'm not from Atlanta. But we can have as many organizations as we want here, and they can be as black as they want to be. But the money is still in the hands of the cracker. So when they want an agenda and it's citywide, I don't give a damn whether it's on the east side of Atlanta or the west side of Atlanta, it go forward. But when there's pushback at certain instances, when the Uncle Toms, when the petty bourgeoisie, when they start pushing on their territory, then they push back. As long as they do it to poor black people here, they'll let them run ramsack. And the police and the mayor and all of them is in on it. It's neocolonialism, and I'm from where you from, so it's neocolonialism. Like I never understood. I sat in these people's faces when the police have killed African people, and I sat in a meeting with them before and talked to them, and they seem like they pretty decent people. But when you go and talk to them about they kill an African, they turn their head from you. I ain't never seen them kind of African people like I seen in Atlanta before, coming from Florida. They different. So that's how you can have this many black people here, but have that problem.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, neocolonialism is a real issue.
That's how I looked them in the eye, Yapo. I never seen nothing like it before.
I have, because Florida is shit. I used to St. Petersburg got the best Uncle Toms in the world.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Yeah, you're right about that. Yes.
Yeah, that shit is real. Yeah, no, you're right.
And they talk blacker than the blackest black.
And we'll tell your ass up the river in a hot second. Yeah, you're right. I didn't want to digress too much, but yeah, I love Atlanta. That's all I got to say about that.
But you're still correct in what you say about what you said about the organizing potential is still correct. And
it's real life.
That's why what we're doing is succinct, and that's why it's occurring at this time. and that's why, brother, the youth are galvanized behind it, and that's why Marcus Garvey's spirit is so powerful right now. You know, all we have to, but it could float out there forever and be spirit and all the organizing potential of the youth and all that could be there forever if nobody organizes it to do what it needs to do.
Right.
And I think that's the question. That's the answer to the question. What you're saying about the gentrification in Atlanta, also, because we had meetings. That thing is occurring right in Jamil Alamin's neighborhood, and I sat in the mosque.
I mean, it's crazy.
Like, what y'all want to do?
That's wild. Yeah.
Hey, well, you hey, if you ain't got no workers to do the work, you can't do the work.
You know what? Speaking of which, I saw it was like a GIF not too long ago where it was about Palestine, right? And it was just showing, it was kind of like a moving GIF that was demonstrating how Palestine changed over the decades with the occupation, how the occupation spread like a damn disease, like a cancer, right? And so it's just showing you, like, with the implementation of the Israeli state, what it looked like, and then on and on and on, how it has literally consumed the Palestinian state, right? Then I saw another GIF that was similar to it about the seizure of lands and territory in America. They showed over a 200-year span, you know, Native American rich locations, then reservations, and how big the reservations were. These were treaty lands, and how they continued to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and damn near disappear, right? And the first thing I thought, because I'm not tech savvy, but it would be really wonderful or really revealing. I ain't gonna necessarily say wonderful, but revealing, if somebody were to do research the same way to show the transformation of historically Black communities through gentrification, eminent domain, and shit like that. Even the migrations that have happened as a consequence, like the Great Migration out west by Africans, and the migration after slavery up north, just show over like a 150-year period of time how Black communities have been decimated and disappeared by white imposition, and in the different ways that it presents itself. Today is gentrification, but 100 years ago, 50, 75 years ago, it was eminent domain. 100 years ago, it was just bombing bitches. You understand what I'm saying? Like, show the way that the communities have been transformed the same way they can demonstrate that shit in Palestine and in America with the American Indians.
Hey, Asad. In Atlanta, they call it the Belt Line, right?
Yeah. The pipeline.
Yeah, in Atlanta, they got the shit where they got the crackers. In Atlanta, that shit big as hell. They got not only the shit about taking over the houses, but they make, you know how them crackers, when they come, they got to make their bike trails and shit right there, right?
Yeah.
So the walking and the bike trail is called the Belt Line. So we were meeting and I was listening to them and I was bored as hell, and and then them Toms started talking, so I got mad, right? So then what I said, Asad, right? I said, turn the Belt Line into the Ring of Fire, right? And it's like, people look back at me. Yeah, turn the damn Belt Line to the Ring of Fire. You want to start the shit? Y'all talking all this foolishness, because they had done went into a whole different conversation, ain't had nothing to do about it. So I was just trying to bring it back. But if we're serious about it, like Malcolm said, if you really know what revolution is about, you wouldn't even mention the word, So if we're serious about what we're talking about, it's just, put the little stuff in the bottle, put the rag in there, and throw it in the window. That solves gentrification right there. Some things be solved like simple, and some things deserve, like organization, that deserves thinking about a long time. Gentrification is just one conversation. Y'all with it? Come on, I got the bottles. That's it.
Question.
But I've sat in those meetings and looked those Africans in the eye. The sister, you understand through history that at these particular points when people say that the political will is not there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The organization, the numbers are there, the black people are there, the political will is not there though.
Mm-hmm.
You can organize a meeting right there in that community, but they won't come. The political will is not. It's a different kind of city. It looked black as hell on the outside, but they're just enjoying themselves. There's the crux of like Asad and African youth up under that Uncle Tom facade that are really Africans that are going to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
But they will tell you themselves the experience of it. We got that brother on the line who, because his mother had the will, because she understood how Uncle Tom's worked with this public school system that kept him out of it. She had the will to make sure not 1 year that he spent in it. Do you know why that might be? These Toms here are vicious and they will kill you. And that's why Jamil Al-Amin is in prison. And that's why Kamal Siddiqui got his case. And that's why Dr. York got his case. And that's why Khalid Muhammad died here. This city is vicious. You hear me? So don't just look at it from its pretty side and all the culture that we get. Look at what the police have done here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So is the point of this whole meeting and the conversations to create solutions for all of this? Like, what are we gonna do?
This is the political education discussion.
Okay.
We will be knowledge born.
Listen to discuss behind closed doors, dear. That's one of the problems.
Yeah,
we got.
you listening to stuff behind closed doors, my brother.
On the damn internet.
You've been invited in the inner circle.
Right.
We're too quick to talk about what we got going on in public.
Right.
So we're preparing for March the 7th. And as like I told you before, Asad, is, you know, just like with the music festival and with this is there's the performance, there's the concert, there's the event, but then the organizing is consistent and continuous.
Right.
You know, and I be telling Asad, y'all, I be like, look, I need you in on this Pan-Africanist work, comrade. Look, I'm telling you, you know, and I even tell his mom, you know, look, I need my comrade. That's my dude. You know, I want to give him everything I got and let him run with let him just add that to the rest of what he got, you know, and run with that. And that's what we got to do for the youth, you know, particularly those that are focused. But more succinctly, we got to find a way to package it. So we, you know, that political education, that what we know, Sister Ayapo, we got to work to put it in the form where when we go and we ain't here on the phone, we ain't organizing no more. Somebody can look, oh damn, revolutionary Pan-African organizers in the Western diaspora, United States, with, you know, and the RBG Nation, and you know, somebody might click on that shit 100 years from now, you know, and hear what we actually say, you know.
Right.
So I just want to work to try to add these things to the record. It's not particularly about, you know, the organizing aspect behind what we're doing and the performing is what, along with the performance, because like, you know, I like the sister said, I want to criticize myself here and say I did not know music would be this powerful. All the damn political work knowledge, boy. Why did the music shit just made all that shit look? Oh man, why you been playing with that shit all this time? You should have been with the music and got with the cheering and shit. It was gonna be what it was, you know. So, but I learned now, you know. So no matter how old your ass is, you can still learn. So, but I caught it late, but I got the shit now. I'm finna run with it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but what you making over there?
Excuse
Still
me?
got a sale going on for the end of this month. We ain't leaving out here without some commercial.
It was pyramids in the beginning. What it is now?
Yeah, you was making pyramids
No,
earlier.
it wasn't pyramids, smarty pants. My phone is about to die, but anyway, it's jewelry. It's African centered Moyende creation. You understand what I'm saying?
That's really
Tell us
nice.
about that sale before your phone died.
Yeah, plug real quick. You know what I mean?
Tell us
Go on,
about that
plug
sale you
Moyende.
got going on before your phone died. You need to know what's going on.
So hold on, let me show you something else. So yeah, you guys know, I mean, most of y'all own some of my stuff. But anyway, so I have like revolutionary bracelets. This is with the Sisters in the Struggle. It's got Harriet Tubman, Queen Nahonda, Gloria Richardson, Winnie Mandela, Ya Asantewaa on there, Fannie Lou Hamer. You understand? Right? Amy Jacques, Garvey, Ella Baker, everybody on there, right?
Everybody.
Then I got like other keys, right? I don't know if you can see that. It's got Asada on there. It's got Bobby Steele and Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture. Got Geronimo Pratt and who else is on there? Fred Hampton, yeah. So when I joined the movement, which was quite a few years ago, you could not Google RBG jewelry. You could not find RBG jewelry, period. This was a long time ago. This was like 2000. So I started making culturally conscious jewelry. I wanted to see our heroes own pieces. And now it's easy. You can find RBG shit everywhere. But I still specialize in like revolutionary conscious jewelry and stuff like that. So I have a website. It's my Etsy store is functioning is my website. So it's www.etsy.com/shop/Moyende Moyende Creations. That's Moyende Creations with a K. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, it's part of my multitasking. I'm still studying to take my medical boards. So my aim, and you guys are welcome to hold me accountable because I've been slacking in my study, if I can be honest. So my aim is to have my license to practice medicine by June of this year. So for those of you who don't know, I went to school for traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And so that's my objective now, is to become licensed to practice medicine in the state of California by June.
Question.
So, yeah.
Do you plan to make a fashion line with your what? Thanks. Do you plan to make a fashion line with all the stuff that you make?
Well, not necessarily a fashion line. So if you go on my website, I have 375 unique pieces that I've made over the years and that I still sell. And I have been approached by designers who make African-centered clothing about partnering with them. So that's not something I'm opposed to. But honestly, once I began to practice medicine, like jewelry started as my hobby. It became a kind of a source of income, or in addition to my income, you know, when I was going through medical school, honestly. And but it is extremely time consuming. And what I'm actually looking for is an apprentice. I'm looking for a protege. I would really like to turn my business over to an African eventually. You know, my pipe dream, honestly, is I would like to have Moyende Creations become almost like a factory production that, you know, obviously only hires Africans, and and produces all of our raw materials ourselves. So one of the things, if I can digress for a moment, one of the things that is really important to me is the lack of care that we take for the planet. And when I was in the Uhuru movement, you know, ecological and environmental issues were not treated with very high regard at all. And that's understandable because environmental issues have been primarily championed by so-called liberal white people, which in a lot of ways are very reactionary. And so it's been a turnoff for colonized people of color up until recently, right? So for me, I feel like it is our responsibility, even as we're making a struggle against empire, that we be taking personal responsibility for our relationship with the planet. So I teach classes here on like wild sourcing materials from the earth, but giving something in exchange. When we talked earlier about universal exchange and reciprocity, when we were talking about music and paying Africans what they're worth, expressing that same spirit of reciprocity with the planet that gives to us limitlessly, even as we mistreat the planet. So I always carry items like tobacco and cornmeal in the car. And whenever I take something from the earth, like I have like this twig here, right, that I'm going to make a piece out of later. So when I wild source these bamboo pieces I made myself, right? So whenever I wild craft or wild source stuff from the environment, I'll always leave something in return. It's just, and especially if you believe in African spiritual traditions, African traditional systems, or religious or spiritual traditions, then you know that the earth is not inanimate. The earth is a living being with a consciousness, right? And the water is living, right? We understand the intimacy of our relationship with the planet, but we don't display that anymore because, you know, again, a colonial mentality. So I always try to be very respectful and always express gratitude when I'm taking something from the planet and putting something back. And even with that being said, I have this vision for Moyende creation where I use, you know, like a great percentage of wild source and recycled raw materials to produce the jewelry and to create a factory of sorts that that can employ Africans to produce this culturally conscious jewelry. That was very long-winded. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're all good. I wanted to know.
Oh, stop. You see this little piece right here? The goddesses right there? Go back. Go back. Go back. You see those little two right there? The two little goddesses right there. The two little goddesses right there with the little cowrie shells on their vajayjays.
Yep.
Go up just a half a, yeah, right there. See them?
Yep.
So that's a prime example. Those are,
you have children?
I'm glad I could add a little air of humor for you, young man. So these pieces are a prime example, right? And so these two pieces are made out of bone. But the bone, the woman that I buy from, I met at a powwow in Florida many years ago. And she hand carves the goddesses out of bone from their hunt, you see. And I buy exclusively from her.
That's dope.
Okay, so that's an example of, like, you know, our earth relationship reciprocity. In African tradition, we don't really, you know, when we sacrifice animals to the Orisha or whomever, we use every piece of the animal. Everything. Don't move. Don't move. Hey, bruh, don't move. I want to show you something else. Go back.
She funny.
Go back. Right there. Stop. So that's an example. I buy from this indigenous woman, this Native American woman. She hand carves the piece. Nothing is wasted from the animals that they capture in the hunt, right? that's the kind of relationship I feel like that we have to be organic about, and with the earth and with each other.
Yeah.
The piece up above it to the right, that has Frida Kahlo on it, that piece, those beads, the wood pieces that those beads are made from, I made those myself. I went to a lumber yard when I was still living in Florida. I went to a lumber yard and would buy the scraps from the cut lumber from the man that owned the lumber yard and use the scraps to carve the beads for these bracelets. You see, that would have otherwise gone in a landfill somewhere or what have you. So that's the kind of work that I do,
Gotcha.
And it's not a small thing, because anybody that makes jewelry knows that if you want to get good, quote, rates on raw materials, unfortunately, a great majority of the time, you're getting materials from some place that still uses slave labor or exploitive labor. You're still getting products, if they're the cheapest, from China. If you're getting Africa pieces, little Africas, they're not coming from the continent. Typically, they're coming from China. And so it's not a small issue when I try to be very deliberate about who I buy from, so that I am not becoming a participator in the enslavement of others.
Right.
That's the genius of capitalism, baby. Capitalism has created this web that has made it so easy for even the poorest of us to become participators in our own oppression and the oppression and the exploitation of others. Our poverty becomes the thing that has us participating. And so what you said, Asad, earlier about how we have everything that we need, we just have to start buying from each other. That's one of the ways to eliminate the fear of participating in slavery and in oppression and exploitation, is to buy within your own community, is to purchase locally, and is to practice reciprocity in your buying habits, in your spending habits. Yeah.
And I was asking you, like, if you were starting like a larger business, because I planned with my record label, my music label, one day to start a fashion line for the label. So I'm trying to see if you could supply us, so we could pay you to supply us with some stuff and turn that stuff into stuff for our label.
So I have done that. One of the things that I've done a lot in the past is, so I'm always trying to look for opportunities to support other people's work, right? So like with man, Tut, you still there? What's Kalonji? What's the youth group? Asafo.
Siafu.
Kalonji.
Siafu.
Oh yeah, Siafu.
I was in that.
The Siafu. Yeah, the Siafu youth group, when they were doing Siafu. Huh? Say that again. Hello?
Lost.
Asad?
Yep.
Asad?
Yep, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
What did you? I can hear you now.
All right, cool. Yeah.
I can hear you.
All right.
What did you say?
That wasn't me. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm on mute over here.
So
go ahead,
with,
sister.
With Sia, what I done, what he sent me, his legs here with a goon on it. You see? Is there like, is there? It looks like there's a pause or something. Hold on. Am I still here?
You're there, but you're lagging a lot.
Yeah, you still here.
Okay, hold on.
Everybody's still here.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So yeah, the dog tags here, you see like the little dog tag with Ogun on it, the Ogun pot, and then you see the little dog tag up there with the like black power fist on it.
Yep.
So I've used those a lot, like as fundraisers for people's organizations or for their schools. So anybody that I support, I've done it for. I've done dog tags for like United Front, the group United Front. I've done dog tags for them. I've done dog tags for Uhuru Academy. Done dog tags for Siafu. I've done dog tags as a fundraiser for the Leonard Peltier Defense Committee. So, you know, I look for opportunities to support. There was a brother that I was in the movement with at one point who was running for office in Baltimore. I sent them 100 dog tags to use as a fundraiser for their campaign. So, you know,
I'm sitting right here looking at a Thomas Sankara dog chain that you did for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can scroll through now. I was just wanting to show the brother and the listeners two things in particular that I had used that were either wild sourced or you know, that were just examples of how I tried to
do this again. We're gonna do this again on Thursday. You understand?
I was just using it as an example of how I tried to be mindful.
This it right here. This it. I'm putting
okay,
this on
Thursday
big screen. I'm putting this on big screen right here. I gotta take a little moment. I love it. This is the
so
solution.
You think we're gonna do it again? We're gonna do it again Thursday?
Asad was asking me about the solution earlier. Okay, that's my department. You see this right here?
Yes,
this?
sir.
This is the solution.
The knowledge.
This is the solution right here. That's why my name is Jonathan Jackson on Facebook. You understand? This is
this
it.
What you talk about when you're doing the knowledge. When you're doing the knowledge
right here. Okay.
You ain't just talking about it. See what I'm talking about? You doing the knowledge.
Oh,
that's what you get. You get Sister Ayapo, you know, Brother Thutmose, Young Comrade, goddamn Asad and shit, Brother Rock, knowledge, boom. That's what you get when you're doing the knowledge. You know, you ain't just talking about it. You ain't just on social media, just gangster keyboard. You know what I'm talking about?
I need this right here. I need that.
Like a hog needs slop.
Yeah. I love this.
Yes,
this
sir.
For my soul. This got my whole body heat right here. This it right here.
My favorite pieces. Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
So Sister Ayapo.
Yes.
Since we still on, can we focus in? Can we channel in on some organizational stuff in regards to principle? I could pull up anything you think.
Go ahead. Show up on Thursday. We've been on here almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
We still got 14 minutes. Look, hold up, goddamn it. As Brother Thutmose is chiming in. It's 11:16. We got 14 more minutes. Can we chime off at 11:30? Because I got the spirit is in here. The spirit is out here. The organizing spirit is here. You know. Okay, so I just want to just kind of finish off just kind of strong a little bit. I don't want to tail off with it. You know what I mean? But I ain't gonna keep nobody too long. Can I get this 13 more minutes now? 11:17. Right?
It's up to
and my sister.
What is it that
you need from me, African? What do you want? Okay.
What I need, and I don't feel no kind of way about asking this because I feel like I asked it in the beginning, and not that it ain't been covered, but I just, I'm anal, like, you know me, man. I like the shit to be wrapped up and be solid and tight.
You're eating up your time, bro. What is it that you want? So
what we said about organizing and principle, and we mentioned a couple of things. We mentioned Ho Chi Minh, and we mentioned the socialist principle, right? So for us, as this for the conversation we've had tonight, what do you feel like that we need to take from us and study and come back with Thursday as one of the or a couple of the organizing principles for homework to come back?
Homework. I got homework. I got homework for the listeners.
Word.
I don't know how many people are listening. If they watch it later, that's fine. But what I will do is I will post a political education on my Facebook page. Okay. I want everybody to read that political education. And I want people to be prepared to comment about how they, because the one that I'm going to post is Combat Liberalism by Mao Zedong. Okay? That's what
1937.
I can email it to both of you so that you can repost it. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
All right? But it's going to be Combat Liberalism. And I would like for both of you and anybody listening to come prepared to do on Thursday. So we're just going to do a political education on Thursday. Is to read the piece and be ready to admit in what areas of liberalism you have participated. How have you been liberal? How have you been liberal? How do you intend to rectify it? That's what I want to know.
Oh, let me count the ways.
I'm just trying to tell you, baby.
In this case, we're gonna tell the truth and correct the African. That's what we ain't talking about the devil.
I'm gonna go last on that one because my list is long.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you, every time I read the piece, I feel like I'm getting spanked. Like, damn,
I add something else,
baby.
So yeah, I just read half of it. So we ain't got time for all that shit.
No, it's not a long piece. Combat Liberalism is not a long piece. I think it's maybe one page, maybe a page and a half. It's not a long piece. But
typewritten is like 2 pages. Typewritten.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Which is semantics, dude. Read the piece. Damn.
Right. Well, I was just trying to, get a comment.
You can live right now.
I love this part too.
Yeah, read the piece. And that way, when it's already read, I don't have to read it online. Everybody comes to the table having studied the piece and saying, you know what? This is how I've been liberal. These are the places that I have been weak. And I'm going to tell you, we can chuckle about it. But again, in my estimation, I'm just one person. But in my estimation, of all the pieces that I really adhere to, for foundational political education, fundamental, like kindergarten, everybody has to know political education. But the thing that destroys us every time, the thing that sets the work back every goddamn time, man, is liberalism. It is. There is nothing more corrosive. There is nothing more destructive. There is nothing more insidious and cancerous inside revolutionary work than liberalism. That's it. And we guilty. Black folks in so-called conscious circles and movements, we guilty. We guilty. We guilty. We don't face the shit. We don't, we scared we gonna lose political relationships if we challenge somebody to the table with principle. We gossip like hens behind comrades' backs instead of raising principled struggle with them in the open or in a group. Look, I want to bring you to the table, comrade, because you dropped the ball on this piece of work. What you got to say about yourself? How you gonna rectify that? Every time you drop the ball, we take steps backwards.
Right.
We don't do that. Well, you know what that is, my comrade. You understand what I'm saying? Oh, or better yet, we act as if a person and their conduct in their personal, intimate relationships should not be a reflection of their lack of integrity and character in the work. So you can run amok and do grimy, messed up shit behind closed doors. But somehow, if you just do good work in public, what you do in private shouldn't really matter. That's liberalism. Yes, your personal relationships and how you handle Africans, even Africans that you're sexually or intimately involved in, should be a reflection of how you intend to handle Africans in the world. Yes, that's liberalism.
if that is allowed to continue, it'll be a thing that can be used against you, and it'll ultimately be a detriment to the movement, no matter whether you're sincere and a good person or not.
It always is. It always is. You understand? It always is.
Mm-hmm.
It's all we have to do is do a historical analysis of how many times the state has exposed decadent behavior on the side of revolutionaries to demoralize the group, right? Expose their dirty laundry in the open to demoralize the group. So don't have no dirty laundry. It ain't saying being perfect. It's just saying moving with principle.
Right.
You understand? Don't be doing grimy shit behind closed doors if you don't want to demoralize the people who look up to your leadership. That's all. It ain't rocket science. If you are a comrade with somebody, beating his woman, and this, because I'm there, man. I have been in revolutionary movements where we in the party together. We are doing revolutionary work, and you going home, your wife is in the party. Your wife is the comrade. The wife, and you going home and you beating her ass behind closed doors. Man, what in the absolute hell is going on in the universe? Who is it that we trying to lead? Who is it we trying to convince? And you got so-called comrades in the movement that don't even check what they know is happening between comrades in the goddamn movement. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Right.
Now, let me just tell you, there was one scenario. Let me just say, there was one scenario, brother. We found out this brother was abusing his wife. They were both in the movement. They both had leadership positions in the party. And this brother was terrorizing this woman. He wasn't just beating her up on every now and again. He was terrorizing this woman. And they were leading the education committee for the party. And brilliant, both of them, brilliant. But he was beating the shit out of her. And when one of the veterans, a sister, an elder sister, she was in her late 60s then, found out that the sister was being beat up, she called them niggas to task. She called all the brothers in leadership to a meeting. She said, now this is what's happened with members in our central committee. Y'all need to go see this nigga and don't come back until it's handled. This was a veteran. This was an elder. She was the oldest member of the movement, as a matter of fact. She said, go see him and don't come back until it's resolved. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a political education has to be a physical education.
Oh, yeah. I like it like that.
So, combat liberalism is assignment.
And can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And our,
Yes, sir. Go ahead, my brother.
And our rites of passage for Ananse Kunda, it's not like stupid intense, but it's really intense. And even though we're all one line, if one, I can't get too deep into all the details, but if one person is messing up consistently and we're trying to help you and you're not listening and you're just messing up and we're just trying to build you up and you're just like not giving us anything, like the boys on our rice line, we actually have the right to beat the crap out of him until he gets straight. If he doesn't listen, it's not because we don't love him, but when one person falls, we all fall. So you're a part of us. When you fail, we all fail, and they have to understand the gravity, the weight, and the seriousness of the situation that we're in, even if it means beating you behind, because it's that serious. It's that serious. One person can ruin everything. They can ruin generations of Africans. One person. So if it takes us beating the mess out of you for you to understand this is that serious, then that's just what needs to happen. Grown men shouldn't be doing that.
I want to share something with y'all. Very short. I'll be as brief as I can.
I share Asad. Salute, brother.
I see.
When I drove out here, I was invited to go stay on a reservation for 2 weeks. So I went to White Mountains Apache Reservation and I camped on the sister's land for 2 weeks. She was like, there's some place I want to take you. So in their culture, they have a ritual called the sunrise ceremony. And what happens is, because they're still a matrilineal culture, when the girls are the ones that have the rites of passage, right? It's like their rites of passage. So a sunrise ceremony, in short, is like when a girl has her first bleed, when she first reaches puberty, she has to tell her parents, look, I bled for the first time, and her parents have 28 days to prepare her sunrise ceremony, okay? It has to happen before her second cycle, okay? So they have to throw this big event. They have to find they have to find people for her, whatever. They have to organize the whole community, what have you. I've been in a lot of rituals. I've seen a lot of stuff since I've been a practitioner of Ifa. I tell you, it was the most powerful shit I ever saw. This 12-year-old girl, and I'm mentioning this because of what Asad said, and what we talked about earlier in terms of really using the kind of enthusiasm that young people bring to the table. That if we can implement in them young, what he talked about, molding people young, creating leadership in them young, if we can implement that level of conviction in them young, we will move light years. This 12-year-old girl, man, the sunrise ceremony is 4 days long. And it's all day. We were there at 6 o'clock every morning. We didn't leave till 8 o'clock every night. And for 4 days straight, that girl danced. And when I say dance, they would give her at the top of the hour a 10-minute break to get water and get something to eat. And she danced again.
Wow.
All day for 4 days. Wow. And then the first 2 days, they would not let her sleep. Her family would not let her sleep. She would have to go on a secret run at night, where they have to go to this cave because the sunrise ceremony is set up around their creation story. So the Apache, this band of Apache, believe that this female deity came to Earth on an abalone shell. She was called White Buffalo Woman. And she came to Earth and she created women, right? And the way men got here was she got impregnated by the sun and then gave birth to the first men. Yeah. Okay? She is the ultimate healer of her people, right? So when a girl reaches her cycle, they say it is the only time in her life where she is open to possession by their mother deity. And then when she is embodied, when White Buffalo Woman is embodied in the body of this child, that child has the ability to heal the entire community. I saw 300 Native people in single file lines for 4 days in front of this baby who did not stop dancing for 4 days. So she could put her hands on them and heal them. They stayed in a single file line all day, every day. If they missed the first day, they get right back in line at 6 o'clock in the morning when we got there. And she was dancing, and she would put her hands all the way down a person's body, and then they would go on, and then the next person would get blessed. Yes, that shit was so powerful. Yo, I got chills. The men invoked. She would go into the cave where she becomes possessed by the deity. She would have to run to the cave after dancing all day and stay in the cave with her. She had one person that she was flanked with. It was usually like an uncle or a father or something like that. She would be protected in the cave. She would get possessed by the deity in the cave, and then she'd come back and she'd be dancing. And the level of conviction of this baby, 12 years old, man, and she was fully invested in the healing of her community. That was, woo, baby. It was deep. And I mentioned it because it is the culture, again, that is instilled in every single person in that community that has them babies that invested. It's
Man,
the culture.
If the females in my community were that deep and not shallow, yo.
But again, it's because our culture has been interrupted, young African. Their culture hasn't been interrupted.
What state was that?
Reservation. You see. So our responsibility is to recreate the culture. You understand? Yeah. Yeah, it's deep.
So hard finding a single date in Atlanta. Even as big and powerful as the African community is, the youth are really like half-ass connected to everything. So it's really hard to even find someone who can understand anything or is down or actually has some depth. Like you go a little bit to their personality and there's a brick wall because that's all there is to them. Like it's so hard. It's so hard. As big as Atlanta is, as many black people are down here, they're really struggling. The youth is really struggling. Yeah. But that's deep. Like I almost caught tears listening to you talk. Like I can imagine that. Our stuff for Non Secunda, it wasn't close to that. It wasn't close. We had it was like that, but only for like an hour. Like that's deep right there. That's stupid deep. Like that's like yeah. Man. Anyway. Damn.
Yeah, it was powerful. And, say what you want. I know that there's a philosophy that exists in our communities about how we ain't got no friends or we out here by ourselves but don't nobody show us no solidarity. That's not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. Yeah. It's not true. It's not true. I drove across 10 states. I was invited by perfect strangers. I stayed on 5 reservations when I drove to California. 5. People reached out to me on the internet. I hear you're on this epic road trip. You want to come stay on our reservation? I stayed on Zuni Res, on Taos Pueblo reservation. These were only like days at a time. But the White Mountains Apache Res, I was there the longest, about 2 weeks. Morongo reservation was child. That shit was so powerful. And they don't let anybody camp on their land, right? So like when I went to Morongo Res, my homeboy was just like, I said, I needed to camp. I didn't have money for a hotel room. I was like, I brought my tent. I thought I was going to be able to post up. He's like, look, Iapo, you look like one of us. He was just like, just act like you supposed to be here. I was like, for real? I said, for real? He was like, yeah, ain't nobody going to say nothing to you. So my black self with my long ass dreadlocks pitched my tent on the reservation, uninvited. And man, people kept coming by my tent. I was there for 4 days. People kept coming by my tent. You gonna come party with us? We having a bonfire tonight. You coming to the bonfire? I was like, yeah. They just acted like I was one of the crew. And then even though I have had a difficult time, finding like hosts of Africans to like, kick it with, like, in the South, you just round Africans. It ain't something you got looking for. Out here, you got to go looking for us, baby. Yeah. And so, even though I haven't found a whole host of Africans, to, commune with, man, when I tell you that the people that have embraced me are not just regular, everyday, like Mexicans, Mexica people or Native American people. These are revolutionary conscious people who actively do work in solidarity with Black liberation organizations. So I feel like a part of the dogma that exists around, it's just us, and I'm still about race first, which I think is just common sense. You understand? But I don't think race exclusive. You see? Like, I think that colonized people have to begin to see our sameness in our political struggles if we're going to mount a resistance that can actually win us all something, even as we are interested most in our people's particular issue. You see? That's just logical. But to say we ain't got no friends or we don't have solidarity is to not know history. is to not know the history of the Cuban Revolution, is to not understand the history of the Nicaraguan Revolution, is to not understand the history of revolutionary struggles in Mexico. You understand? To not know the history of the Brown Berets or Union del Barrio or all of these organizations who've been for decades and decades and decades doing solidarity work around brown, black, and red issues. Yeah, that's just foolish. And you ain't a student of history if you buy that bullshit. I mean, you defame the legacy of Fidel Castro and Che Guevara if you say that Africans ain't got no friends.
Yeah.
When they were the ones who were catching hell by the United States government and still, to this day, for that matter, issuing solidarity in material solidarity, resources, training, weapons, money, arms to liberation struggles throughout the continent. You're foolish if you say we ain't got no friends, if we don't have people who have always rooted for, hell, Cuba's still hiding the side of Shakur. What the fuck you mean we ain't got no friends?
Exactly. Still, to this day.
Still.
Trump asked you for this extra time, and I don't know if his phone dead or what happened. But we're going to be here on Thursday at live at 5, Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern. I don't know what that is. 4 p.m. Central. What is that?
It's 2 p.m. my time.
2 p.m. In specific Mountain Time. I don't know what time it is. Okay, go tell it
It's
on
2 p.m. my time, Pacific time. Yeah. Excuse me.
Mountain Time in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Subscribe and you'll find out when we live over here.
Y'all got your homework assignment. It's combat liberalism. Tell me how you've been liberal. Tell me how you intend to rectify it. Just saying.
Right. We out. Asad, what you got to say to the people before we get out of here?
She's funny. When is your birthday? What's your zodiac sign?
Oh, I'm a Virgo.
My mom is a Virgo.
Not only am I a Virgo, I got a lot of Earth. I'm a Virgo, and my moon is in Capricorn. I'm like extra Earth.
Oh, wow, dang.
Yeah, I'm extra Earth.
Here.
Born to 2 Leo parents, so you can just it was like wild. Yeah. My parents were born almost 24 hours apart in the same hospital.
That's tough. Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. I feel it. I definitely feel it.
I stay surrounded by fire signs, man. I stay surrounded by. I don't know what that's about. I'll have to dig deep. My daughter's an Aries. My granddaughter's a Taurus.
Which Orisha are you a child of?
Guess.
Ogun?
That's funny. I get that a lot. And I always get Ogun or Shango. No. Yeah. Shango is my father, but my head is ruled by Oya.
Oya.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine is Obatala and a little hint of Shango.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oya is my mother, baby.
Okay, cool. I feel the storm, most definitely. Most definitely.
Well, this has been fun. This has been fun. It was good to meet you, Asad. Damn, I like you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And she don't say that. You know what I'm saying?
Whatever, African.
As you can tell.
Stop.
She don't say that. And she not faking. I just say it twice.
I like everybody within reason.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So you said
on Thursday for the invite. This is
Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Going down. That'll be
all right. All power to the people.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
All right.